Thank you and welcome everybody. First off tonight, for anyone that is here on the apartments on Farrel Road across from Broken Arrow, they have requested to be put on hold. There will not be a hearing or any discussion on that tonight. You will be notified again as you were if they come back with their plans. We have no idea what they're doing. A motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 8th?
Oh, excuse me, there should be a roll call first.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ken Shepard?
Here.
Likens?
Here.
Porfilio?
Here.
Maloney?
Here.
Pinn?
Here.
Oxley?
Yes.
And Belota?
Yes.
All present?
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 8th?
I'd like to make a comment.
We make a motion first.
I'd like to approve the minutes as
We make a motion.
let's make a motion.
We have a motion. Second?
Second.
Comments? Changes?
A comment, just a general comment. Moving forward, this is for you. There's not a lot of specific details in the minutes. Is that something people have to get out of the videotape? Because in the past, it was something that helped with people that reviewed the meeting to see what went on with reviews and things like that. And it's basically 2 or 3 sentences that says the commission discussed this and this is what they decided. So I was wondering if that was something that was being taken out for a reason, or is this Cliff Notes now? Or is it...
Under the Open Meetings Act, there's no requirement that the minutes have to reflect the verbatim proceedings. They are to summarize the crucial action, the motion, the second, and the any finding of facts. I mean, if that's something that the commission wants, a little bit more detailed minutes, but under the Open Meetings Act, there's no requirement that it has to be verbatim. The records are adopted as part of the records of the proceeding and available to the public online. And if there's anything that is that they have a question on the detail, that can easily be heard.
In the past, sometimes, days not too long in the meeting, in the past, I have referred back to old minutes to see what was discussed with specifics. And it's not easy to do that with the new format, so I'm just making a comment. It's a general comment.
And I believe Director Hurd has more detailed background.
No, I'm just, well, one thing, we need to make sure that everyone's talking into their microphones clearly, because when it's difficult to hear out in the audience, but it's also difficult when I try to go watch the replay to make sure I capture everything in my reports. If you recall, this discussion has come up multiple times throughout the years. And when the city council went to the Granicus system, it was then also available for plan commission meetings. And at that time, the city attorney had also indicated that the Granicus, the recording of the meeting, also serves as the record should there be some uncertainty or clarification needed in the actual written minutes.
No, also, as long as we're on that subject, we've had discussion of do we have a court reporter for public hearings or not? And that was removed, and I think our new recommendation is that we should.
And that would be ultimately up to the city administrator whether the court reporter would be budgeted. Typically, for other municipalities, the applicant does have to fund the cost of getting
Our ordinance states that.
instead of having the staff paying for it. But for any matter that requires or that we think that will garner some type of objections, it would be ideal to have a court reporter present to take the minutes and to actually not to take the minutes, but to actually record the public hearing.
I think that we should have it for public hearings, and just for the public hearing. If we've got one public hearing or two, we have one tonight. I think we should have a court reporter here to record the minutes so they're accurate. If there's ever anything back and forth about it, we have exact minutes. And I think that was part of your recommendation, and we should go back to that. And our ordinance does state that the applicant pays for the fees of the court reporter.
And there's a distinguishment between the minutes and the actual hearing. I think the problem last time, when there was a previous court reporter, was that they would actually take the minutes,
They
which
were
that's
gonna
not the
hold
court
it.
reporter's job.
Well-
The court reporter's job is only to take the recording of any public hearing and also, I guess, detail what the applicant stated, what the objector stated. So that was the problem where the court reporter would sort of take the whole entire minutes, and they're not there to take a whole entire minutes.
Right.
The city clerk will be. So if the court reporter can just be limited to any public hearing, that would be, I think, more ideal than to have a court reporter present for the whole entire hearing. So that's something certainly the staff and the city administrator can discuss on whether that's a line item budget amount that can be added, approved by the city council.
Looking forward to hearing what you find.
Yeah, we'll talk to them and then we'll report back.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Lyons?
Yes.
Portillo?
Yes.
Maloney?
Yes.
Pin?
Yes.
Oxley?
Yes.
And Malota?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, first case tonight's public hearing, special use permit for unique use motel in an R1 zoning district.
Good evening, Chairman Oxley and members of the commission. Case number 2017-012 is before you this evening for public hearing. The applicant, Deepak Patel, is seeking approval of a special use permit to allow unique use motel within the R1 zoning district. The property is located at 14556 South Archer, generally located northeast of the intersection of West 147th Street and South Archer Avenue. The property was improved with a 17-unit motel and 3-bedroom residence in 1991. The annexed property was rezoned from A1 agricultural to R1 single-family with a special use permit for a planned mixed-use development, a special use permit to establish and operate a motel, preliminary final plan review, and final plat of subdivision. The motel was considered a special use due to the unique nature of the use and the adjoining land uses. At the time, more intense commercial uses such as automobile sales and repair shop were located to the southwest and general contractor to the southeast. Residential properties were located within close proximity to the north. Agricultural was located to the west. Public utilities were not available. However, the annexation agreement and the development plan state that in the event public water and sanitary sewer become available, the owner shall connect to public utility distribution systems. The original septic system plan was approved by the Will County Health Department in 1991. Given the amount of time that has passed, staff recommends that the new owner provide an updated septic system inspection report to confirm that the system is functional and adequate for use. The special use permit was crafted specifically for Mr. and Mrs. Tomala to establish and operate the motel with the condition that the family reside on premise. Any change in ownership of the motel would require a special use permit with input from the city before any future owners of the motel could operate it. The property is currently for sale. The interested buyer, Deepak Patel, intends to purchase the property and operate it as a family-operated business. The special use permit does not transfer with the property. Therefore, the buyers are requesting a new special use permit to allow the operation of the motel to continue. With the new request for special use permit, non-conforming matters need to be corrected or come into conformance. The applicant proposes to acquire the motel and maintain the current operations in place, which he intends to assess and evaluate. Upon evaluating current business operations, he proposes to slowly make improvements to the daily operations of running the motel. This includes making repairs, providing a clean environment, providing amenities, and committing to good service. The applicant has expressed that he will not live in the residence that is located on site. This was required with the original special use. However, employees or family members could use the residence when managing operations. The residence would not be rented to future tenants. The applicant requests a special use permit to transfer with the property, should he decide to sell the property. The prior special use permit was conditioned otherwise. Staff seeks direction from the commission. However, as written, the special use permit will transfer with ownership. A zoning inspection, as required with this request, was performed on September 5th. Upon inspection, staff observed and noted the following. Equipment trailers were found in the guest parking area. These should be removed or placed within the enclosed garage. Trash such as old mattress and empty paint buckets were in the lawn area. These items will need to be removed. A pallet with a concrete block on top appears to be covering up a hole. It's unknown what this is. This is along the west wing. This will need to be removed and repaired if the ground is disturbed. Regarding supporting criteria of the special use, staff finds that the current use as a motel provides lodging accommodations to the public. This type of service is limited within the city, especially within the general location of the motel. The existing motel does not negatively impact the adjacent property and should not in the future. It is staff's opinion that the motel use is a low-intensity use, which acts as a transition between the neighboring commercial and residential uses. Redevelopment of this property would be difficult for commercial or residential use due to the irregular shape and orientation of the parcel. The use is in the interest of the public and will contribute to the general welfare of the public. The building and use will be operated in a similar manner and should not hinder future development of neighboring properties. The use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property or character of the neighborhood. Additional standards and criteria for a unique use are provided by the applicant, and they are as follows. The existing motel is set back from the adjacent commercial properties along Archer. This creates separation from the more intensive businesses that are located closer to the highway. The motel fits in with the rural character that it also is present in the general area and contributes much to the surrounding neighborhood. According to the applicant, he promotes a safe environment with a clean guest list where he and his family can actively contribute to running a quality business. The applicant has expressed to staff that he sees the property with potential to grow and become a destination motel for families to get away or house family reunions or events. He envisions families utilizing the open areas for recreation and picnics. From an economic standpoint, these improvements have the potential to make a positive impact to Archer Avenue corridor. The supporting findings of fact for special use, unique use are as follows. Street access. The property has one access drive from Archer Avenue, which leads to an existing parking lot. Parking. An updated parking plan will be required as a condition of approval. Upon inspection, staff found that the parking configuration has changed from the originally approved site plan. The parking lot is not striped in accordance with city code. Concrete wheel stops are in place. Parking spaces that are shown as ADA spaces on the site plan were used as regular parking spaces and not marked with appropriate striping or signage. A portion of the parking area near a trash container is damaged and should be repaired. This will be a condition of approval. Also, the trash container should not be located in a parking space. Landscaping. A landscape plan will need to be provided. This will be a condition of approval. An approved landscape plan was found on file, however, the existing landscaping does not match. The foundation landscaping is identified on the plan with planting beds, however, it was never implemented. Although foundation landscaping is required per city code, it may not be feasible to provide at this time. However, planted containers providing year-round color will need to be provided as an alternative. Details of these containers will be subject to staff review and approval. This will be a condition of approval. A trash enclosure that is screened with landscaping is shown on the approved landscape plan. Upon inspection, neither the trash enclosure nor the landscape screening are located. The parking lot should have perimeter landscaping along the added spaces on the west side. Perimeter landscaping will need to be provided along the west side parking spaces. This is to be shown on the landscape plan as well. This will become a condition of approval. Trees along the driveway that are dead on the west side will need to be removed. This will also be a condition of approval. Signage. The freestanding sign has been altered from what was approved. The sign needs to be altered to reflect the approved sign detail the city has on file. The approved sign detail on file only includes the light fixtures on top of the brick columns. In addition, large stones that were placed at the base of the sign are not acceptable. Per code, a freestanding sign needs to include a minimum of 5-foot wide landscape area around a sign. This will be a condition of approval. Lighting. A lighting and photometric plan will be required. The existing outdoor lighting is in poor repair and not in conformance with city code. Remains of concrete fixture foundations with exposed rebar are found along the driveway. These will need to be removed. All remaining fixtures still intact should be removed and replaced with appropriate fixtures. They're downward lit with full cutoff. And subject to the review and approval by the city, this will be a condition of approval. Trash. The existing trash container is not located in the area that is shown on the approved site plan and not screened from public view. A trash enclosure is required and should be relocated to the approved location on the impervious surface. Currently, the trash container is located in a parking space. A solid wood fence is acceptable. This will be a condition of approval. All trash and debris, as previously mentioned in this report, will need to be removed. This will be a condition of approval. The fence. A wood fence is damaged in some areas and generally in poor condition overall. The fence will need to be repaired and replaced. This will also be a condition of approval. The request for special use was reviewed by the city's development engineering consultant, who has no comment, and both the Lockport Fire Protection District and the building department also have no comment at this time. However, final inspections will need to be completed and an occupancy certificate issued. Recommended motion. Should the commission find the sufficient evidence that the special use permit for a unique use motel within the R1 zoning district meet the standards established for such classification in the zoning ordinance, then the following motion is suggested. A motion to approve a special use permit for a unique use motel within R1 zoning district with the following conditions. 1. Prior to the issuance of any occupancy permit, an updated septic system inspection report needs to be submitted to confirm that the current system is functional and adequate for use. All trash and debris will need to be removed. The equipment trailers will need to be removed or stored within the enclosed garage. A parking lot plan will need to be submitted for staff review and approval. The lot will need to be striped in accordance with city code, and ADA parking spaces will need to properly be striped and the appropriate signage installed. The existing parking lot will need to be repaired. All areas designated as fire lanes or no parking areas will need to be painted yellow and/or signed accordingly. The trash container will need to be enclosed with the solid wood fence. The type of fencing to be used will need city review and approval. The pallet with block on the west side of the building will need to be removed, and the ground below will need to be repaired if it is disturbed. The concrete remains from broken and removed lighting fixtures will need to be removed. A photometric and lighting plan and details will need to be submitted for city review and approval. New fixtures will need to be installed to ensure adequate light levels for safety and security of patrons. An updated landscape plan for city review and approval will need to be provided with details of alternative foundation landscaping, planted containers, and perimeter landscaping shown. Number 2, within 6 months of the date of occupancy permit being issued, the following improvements must be completed. Perimeter parking lot landscaping will need to be provided in accordance with city code. Dead trees will need to be removed. Planted containers along the front of the building with year-round seasonal color will need to be provided. Existing wood fence will need to be repaired or replaced. The type of fencing will need to be reviewed and approved by the city. The existing freestanding sign will need to be restored to the approved sign on file, and the existing large stones and rocks need to be replaced with the required landscaping. An outdoor cooking area shall be designated on a pervious surface in the rear yard. Outdoor cooking should not occur in the front yard. The outdoor cooking area will need to be reviewed and approved by the fire district. This concludes staff's analysis. The applicant is present this evening to answer questions.
Thank you, Freeman. Is the applicant present? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Official residence is 7024 Cambridge Road, Townhouse Road, and it was 6506.
If you've read the staff report, went through it, are you in agreement with all their terms?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Need a motion to open public hearing? So moved. Second. Anyone from the public wish to?
You need to vote on the, you need to vote on the motion.
All in favor of voting on open public hearing? No? Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak about the hotel? Please come forward, sir. State your name and address.
My name is Wayne Luft Lamont.
Pardon me?
Wayne Luft Lamont. I live in Lamont, 3073 Huff Lamont. I own the parcel of R1 that touches that finger that goes all the way back. And I'm wondering if that finger is zoned R1 separate, or is that whole thing going to be all special use? That little finger that goes, I don't know how to describe it, I can see it up here.
Is this it right here? Up here?
The,
No, this is our.
Well, okay.
Yes.
We'll address your comments after.
Okay, that's my bit of concern, because it goes all the way to, that finger goes all the way to existing housing and the zone R1 next to it. The rest of it doesn't really have a relevance.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the public wish to speak? Hearing none. Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
By Maloney, second by Shepherd. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Jim, what's your pleasure hearing this? Anyone have comments, questions? Speak now.
I have a couple questions.
Anyone?
Questions really for staff and Sonny, maybe, is this special use that we're talking about, it's existing, it went with the owner at the time, she's looking to sell it, was this special use, if this went forward, are they assuming the special use, or would it be a new special use permit, or?
This would be a new special use because the prior special use only attached to the tamales, the current owners right now, and they're planning on selling it, but that would not, the special use now, would not carry to the new owners because the special use is limited to the owner to remain in the hotel and there are other conditions. So this is you would treat it as a new special use.
And then it looked like I guess for staff, one is water and sewer, and was it going to run down Archer?
There's
No,
not
that's
a specific, but
No.
Okay.
There's a showing water right at Smith Road.
yeah, it existed as far away.
Okay, so the soonest would be is maybe Goliath's actually. Not even one.
One and a
Not even, still.
That's not on okay. No, that's all right. I did some research. I looked at your websites, Mr. Patel, at your other hotels. I looked at your reviews from TripAdvisor. I was very pleased. I think 2 of the 3 that you gave us were certificate of excellence, which means your ratings, I believe, is in above a 4 out of 5. It was great. I lived near there, right behind it in Forest Hills for many, many years, and the property was always well maintained. And it sounds like, from what I could see, you're looking to do the same thing and do some improvements, which are welcome. So, thank you.
Anyone else have comments, questions?
Yeah, I think my comment would be that there are a lot of conditions that are going to be held accountable, and there was language in the staff findings that said change, the improvements would be made slowly over time. And that word slowly concerns me. So I just want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that all of these conditions are.
Such as which ones? Well, I mean, there's a group of
All the property improvements, talking about the trees, just the aesthetic improvements to the landscaping and whatnot. I mean, it appears that there's a lot to be done. I just want to make sure that if there's anything we can do it will be done to make sure that the new property owner is held accountable, assuming that this is approved.
Yeah, I think one of my comments would be that within 6 months, some of the stuff, you're gonna be in March. You're gonna have inclement weather for striking the parking lot, so we may look at changing that or put some language in there for that.
A few comments. Overall, I'm supportive of the application. There appears the applicant is generally interested in improving the property, which would be in the best interest of the city. The reason he's applying for a new special use permit is because the language in the original special use permit did not allow for transfer. He's stating that the applicant requests a special use permit being asked for to transfer the property should he decide to sell the property. As I see it, the condition of the special use permit not be transferable is protection for the city. It gives us the option to allow or not allow a future use. So overall, I'm agreeable with the application, but I'm inclined to eliminate the language that allows the new special use permit to be transferred to a subsequent purchaser. Again, this is a protection that was in the first one for the city. It should be kept in the second one.
And that can be done. I think the last special use, the commission and also the city council had the same concern, and that's why they required the applicant to actually live on the property. So that special use can be limited to the current owner. I think maybe the memo reflected that the current owner, the Tamales, were wanting to transfer their special use to the new owner, and that's the condition of the new owner, the applicant, being able to purchase the property. It hasn't been purchased yet. So that special use can be conditioned to the current owners, and any transfer of that ownership of the property would require new application, and then therefore the conditions can be either changed or reviewed again. I do agree with some of the comments regarding why some of the conditions of the original special use weren't met. I think this is a property that doesn't garner a lot of complaints. It's not really visible along, the street or things like that. So this is something that was sort of kind of overlooked on whether all the conditions of the original special use were complied with, and obviously some of them weren't. So this is something that we, going forward, we should have some type of plan or mechanism to trigger inspection and to make sure that all the conditions are being met instead of 10 years or 15 years down the line to find out that they weren't met.
I'm agreeable with issuing a new special use permit for the new purchaser. I just don't see it's necessary to allow him to be able to transfer that to a subsequent purchaser. If he chooses to sell the property, then the subsequent buyer needs to apply for a new permit. The other thing here is the previous special use permit was issued in 1991, 26 years ago, and it was just stated for the record that some of the conditions in the previous special use permit were never complied with.
No, I think what it says, Bill, is it doesn't say they weren't complied with. I think what it is we have a housekeeping issue here. Some stuff wasn't kept up according to the special use permit. So it may have been, and then it fell into the other prayer. We have code enforcement also that, staff report indicates a lot of these items, and then where was code enforcement?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to next. We've had occasions in the past where we applied conditions for a special use permit that were promptly ignored. We're not the enforcing body. Can we have some assurance that code enforcement will see to it that all of these conditions are complied with in a timely manner? Or?
It's not up to us.
Well, a couple things. I think back then there wasn't very specific timing mechanisms that were outlined. In this particular instance now, if you look, when it says prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit and there's A through K items, that means they can't move in there and start operating until those items A through K are taken care of and addressed. When the occupancy permit gets issued, the occupancy permit will be conditioned to address number 2. That stipulates within a certain period of time, which 6 months, and obviously we have to discuss that because of bringing it into the time of the year when maybe some of these things can't be taken care of. But then the occupancy permit will be conditioned with number 2, which will outline these other items that need to be taken care of within that specified time frame. If it's 6 months, if it's 8 months, whatever, staff will perform the appropriate inspection at that designated time. If these items are not addressed, they will be brought to the applicant's or owner's attention. If there's some compelling reason why they can't be addressed, we will take that under advisement. Otherwise, if there is not a compelling reason why this cannot be complied with, then the risk is that the occupancy could be pulled.
So basically what you're saying is item A through K will need to be done before they are given a new occupancy.
That is correct.
On purchase.
Yes,
And then the other items will have 6 months,
of that.
what, remaining, I assume.
Yes, correct.
Anyone else? Bill?
I realize code enforcement, I believe now is a full-time position.
Yes.
36 years ago, I don't think anybody had that position.
Yes.
So that, in that regard, the situation has changed. The city's in a much better position to ensure compliance with what the gentleman agrees to.
Anybody else comments? Right? Go ahead.
I echo Jim's comments and Mr. Maloney as well. In the annexation ordinance, it lists the conditions of the special use, and I'm fishing here for why there was requirements for them to live on the property. What was that all about? Was there something we're missing here? And why that was a requirement?
Well,
I believe there were like,
maintaining the property,
yeah.
or what was it?
The original annexation agreement, the special use, garnered some objections from the surrounding residents. And there were concerns regarding having the owner being local and being able to contact directly if there were any issues. And that's why they felt that the owners at the time were going to be more accessible, and that's the requirement. I don't know if that same concern is current with the current applicant. Obviously, we have put in mechanisms regarding timing of the compliance to ensure that the compliance occurs quickly, not slowly 10 years later. So there are protections that are laid under the conditions that would ensure that the compliance occurs.
But we're not including that in our list, right?
No, I believe that.
It's not on the list?
No, the applicant, the current applicant who's planning on purchasing the property because of family, schooling, and other issues, they can't live on the property. So that's something that the applicant.
So our school district, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What he also said, he won't rent it out. It'll be for family or staff.
Right.
I don't know if you want to make a condition, but.
Well, there's a condition in here.
I'm not gonna approve this, kids. The second item talks about not having any kitchen facilities. Would that be carried forward? That wasn't mentioned in the motion in the packet. The use of the motel shall not include permanent or extended stays, and no kitchen facilities shall be provided in the lodging rooms except the unit occupied by the owner. Are we going to carry that one forward?
Well, the annexation agreement is still present and is still enforceable.
So that's carried forward?
Yes,
Okay. And the same with the third item, that there's no more than 20 lodging rooms.
yes.
Because in his letter, he wrote to the commission, to the city of Lockport, on page 2, he talks about future probabilities with depending on cash flow. He wants to add 7 rooms on the back of the building and build small cottages in the back. That's going to blow that 20 lodging rooms.
You'd have to amend the annexation.
Yes, you would have to
All
come
right,
in.
so
and
I
request
just
it.
want to make sure that he understands that too before he does an expansion, that there's restrictions and he would have to come back to us for an amendment.
Yes.
He's not up there anymore. Let's see here. So I just wanted to make sure those conditions were being carried through with the new special use. And as Bill mentioned, I don't support transfer of the property to the new owner of the special use. It's a new owner and we have to protect the city's best interests. And I think that was all I had. Thank you.
Anybody else? Scott?
I would agree with the rest of the commissioners that should the sale go through to Mr. Patel, that any future sales, the special use not transfer. The other comment I have, relative to signage, trying to understand exactly what staff have said here. Is it acceptable for Mr. Patel to update the sign within the basic parameters and spirit of the intent of the code? It doesn't have to go back and look like 1993 signage.
Correct. He can apply for a permanent sign, permit application. That will also have to go through the permit process.
Okay, but I just want to make sure he doesn't have to make it look exactly like that.
The idea is that the current sign, if he chooses to continue using the current signage, the freestanding sign has been amended. There looks to be an added frame with some string lighting that wasn't part of the original approval for the sign.
Okay. That's all I have.
The only question I had, you guys answered about the special use permit being transferred. That's the only question I had.
One other thought here. Almost every hotel and motel nowadays, for competitive reasons, this is one refrigerator, the microwave oven, whether you want it or not. If you were to put those in this room, would that constitute kitchen facilities?
We would have to look at that, but I don't think it's an actual full kitchen. A full kitchen would be a sink. You could have a mini bar. A lot of hotels can have mini bars, or mini refrigerators.
It's probably the difference between a sleeping unit and a dwelling unit. If there is cooking equipment like stove, range, then it's a dwelling unit. Sleeping unit, microwave, fridge does not constitute dwelling.
Chairman, I would like to address the member from the community who asked a question about the special use for the boundaries. I do want to let you know that the property boundary that's identified in yellow, that the full parcel will be subject to the special use permit. But I do want to reiterate that, again, if there's any expansion or new development, that will trigger approval process and new zoning action.
But as of now, it's staying in R1 with a special use. So it would be
The parcel next to it, which is what I own, it's split in zoning. The front portion's C and the back portion's R1. And that's why I was questioning that little figure there. How that would be addressed, because we were addressed separately.
The zoning will stay intact, and the full parcel will be R1, subject to the special use.
Okay, great, thank you. Appreciate it.
One comment I have is, why are we saying that R1 with this? Should we be moving that into a commercial or something? Because, I mean, if you look at the Holiday Inn Express, if they sell, there's no change in zoning, no change in ownership, no change in ownership. So why are we keeping this R1 zone? I think that's the question.
So that is definitely a question that we considered, that when I looked at the current zoning, the same factors came into play. There is R3 residential in close proximity, unincorporated Will County to the north, also to the south. The area, there is commercial, but the commercial properties are closer to Archer Avenue. That could be a potential request.
Well, you have a car lot on one side and body shop on the other side, so.
Correct. With the commercial zoning, a special use would still be required. The idea is that the R1 would still be a transitional type zoning because of the ag use, the rural use, agricultural to the west. I believe it's still being farmed in close proximity to the residential.
Is there a ceiling or density in R1? Since it's just temporary people coming in, it doesn't count against it. Is that how it works? No. Well, the zoning, the underlying zoning is the same. You're just getting on a special use in that. So you can almost have a special use in most zoning classes. So the zoning impact of that wouldn't matter because you're throwing a special use over it. So that's why. It's less intrusive zoning, which I agree with. So in the future, if somebody does want to develop your property or someone's around it, it all gets taken into consideration.
Okay. So, we have a motion here. I move that the special use permit for the unique use motel within the R1 district be approved with the following conditions listed by staff, and the additional condition that this newly issued special use permit cannot be transferable to a subsequent purchaser.
And also the two items from the previous special use we talked about.
Those are still being
implied.
applied.
It's implied.
That's just
That's implied. I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Just one clarification for the record that the motion includes adopting the finding of facts as reflected in the staff memo. The motion includes adopting the finding of facts included in and outlined in the staff memo.
Yeah, the findings of fact.
Yes, I'm still fine with it. I'm still okay. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Likens,
Yes.
Portillo.
Yes.
Maloney,
Yes.
Finn,
Yes.
Oxley,
Yes.
Delota.
Yes.
Motion passed.
This will go to the city council, 7 p.m. Mr. Tony?
No, October 4th.
October 3rd,
4th.
7 p.m. Thank you. Next is the concept plan for proposed townhouse development on northeast corner of Cedar Road and Victoria Crossing East. Snap.
Thank you, Chairman. The next case, 2017-011, John Atkinson has submitted concept plan for Terraces of Cedar Crest, a 4.4-acre residential townhome community for the property generally located at the northeast corner of Victoria Crossing and Cedar Road. The subject property, Zone C2, was part of an approved 202-acre planned unit development, Victoria Crossings, that consisted of R1 single family, R2 single family, and C2 community commercial. Victoria Crossings is primarily a residential development located both east and west of Cedar Road, north of Division, with two parcels having frontage on Cedar Road being Zone C2. The subject property was one of these two properties with the C2 designation, which was intended to allow for the development of Lockport Memory Care, an assisted living adult daycare facility, which was withdrawn and never constructed. The parcel remains vacant. The subject property is now owned by John Atkinson. He is proposing a concept plan for a 31-unit townhome development and seeks direction from the city for the proposed use. For the proposed use, zoning, and general layout. The proposed development will require a change in zoning from C2 to R2, and due to the necessary rezoning and deviation from the city's comprehensive plan, staff recommended the applicant proceed with the concept plan first in order to determine the feasibility of the proposal. R2 zoning would make sense in this location since the existing townhome development immediately to the east is presently zoned R2. Cedar Road is under the jurisdiction of Will County Highway Department. Direct access from Cedar would not be permitted, which can limit interest in developing the property as a commercial use, since commercial uses can have a very different traffic pattern and/or access needs. Any proposed development, whether commercial or residential, would only be allowed direct access from Victoria Crossing. A concept plan does not require a public hearing. However, courtesy notices were sent to adjacent property owners. No comments have been received. The project overview includes the site plan, which illustrates 8 buildings with a total of 31 townhome units. According to the applicant's summary, Each unit is approximately 1,875 square feet in floor area and 5,379 square feet of lot size. The site plan illustrates that the units will be oriented to face a main private access drive off of Victoria Crossing. The access drive has a cul-de-sac turnaround. Additional guest parking will be provided along with a pedestrian walkway on one side of the access drive. All units will have 2-car garages with separate driveways. The 4.4 acre development will have an approximate density of 7 units per acre, which is less than the 8.9 units per acre for the adjacent townhomes on South Newcastle Way. Building elevations were not submitted for review at this time, however, will be required during the preliminary review and will need to comply with city design and development guidelines. Landscape plans will be required during the preliminary plan review and will need to comply with city design and development guidelines. Exceptional landscape features such as larger caliber, varied species, and reduced spacing of trees and additional siding are expected in planned developments. The engineering review letter, which was attached to your packet, was prepared by the city development engineering consultant. At this time, comments are applicable to future review process. The fire district, the concept plan was submitted to the Homer Township Fire Prevention District for review. The fire district has no comments or concerns at this time. Should the commission find the concept plan for the proposed 31-unit residential townhome development acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to approve the concept plan for residential townhome development subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only of the concept plan and that a more detailed review will occur with submission of a preliminary development plan. Staff comments at this time are general, intended to outline steps necessary if the project moves forward and to provide guidance and considerations for future submittals. The special use permit for a planned unit development may need to be amended or a new PUD may be required. An amended annexation agreement shall be submitted with the submission of a preliminary development plan application to address uses, general design standards, as well as other details necessary for the development of the property as a residential townhome development. A future zoning request for the project will be R2 single-family residential. Comments as identified in the development engineering consultant review letters related to the plan review will need to be addressed at the time of PUD process, rezoning and plan review. Concept plan approvals are valid for 1 year from the date of approval. Approval of a concept plan provides the applicant reasonable assurances to move forward with submission of a request to rezone and preliminary development plan. The preliminary development plan shall be in general conformance with an approved concept plan. This concludes staff's analysis, and the applicant is present this evening to answer questions.
Thank you. Yep, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm John Atkinson. I live at 11044 Woodstock Drive, Orland Park. Thank you for the opportunity to present our concept this evening. I'm accompanied by Ron Weslitz of the Linden Group, who assisted with the drawing of the concept plan. And so I would like to take a few minutes, if I could, to walk through. I prepared a little PowerPoint on that.
Please do.
By way of introduction, you see the terraces there, hence the name, the terraces. And as we get into the development, there are some terraces on the property that were developed. The property was developed over in the neighborhood of 18 years ago, and I kind of see it as an overlooked, vacant, underutilized asset, and through its development can be a win-win-win for all parties, that being the city of Lockport, our neighbors in Victoria Crossing, our neighbor to the north, as well as our group. So we see potential with the terraces there, 15 feet and 18 feet respectively, and know that a lot of landscaping can go there and be quite attractive. So with that said, okay, who is John Atkinson and Lockport Cedar, the applicant? You're looking at John Atkinson. I'm the manager of Lockport Cedar LLC, real estate lifer, as you might say. For the last 18 plus years, had been with a home builder and developer that was in several markets throughout the country, and more recently, over the last 13 plus years, had executive and ownership positions with a developer, contractor, and investor in the south suburbs. Over that time period, we've done dozens of residential communities, business parks, and shopping centers, over thousands of acres of land, encompassing homes, industrial, office, retail, and specialty use properties. Also won a key award from the Home Builders of Greater Chicago. And prior to that, 13 years in the banking industry focused on investment property and development finance. Here's a sampling of developments that we've done, as well as individual home construction. And you can see that, and then we're going to move on to, this is just an example of what we've done, private residence in Palos Park, another private residence in Palos Park. These are single-story office buildings in Tinley Park, retail and office warehouse flex type product that we've done in many of the south and southwest suburbs up and down the I-80 corridor. And then we turn to the area map. You can see we're just, as Kimberly pointed out, at the northeast corner of Victoria Crossing and Cedar, about a half mile north of 167th Street. Then turning to the aerial, you'll see as I get by further in the discussion, I'm kind of referring to this property as a hole in the donut, meaning that it is surrounded by residential. You can see Victoria Crossings, community on both sides of Cedar and immediately adjacent to our site to the east. And there is the single-family residence to the north. Okay. And then we do have the concept plan there, and Ron's got a larger visual if anybody wants to see that up close with dimensions on it. And then we see how with the existing utilities, the property is well served with utilities either on site or immediately nearby, and how the property fits nicely on the parcel. And then you do see as well that the property does drain to the south. Recapping in terms of the existing site, we've got 4.4 acres. The available utilities are there, drainage to the south. And one thing that's pointed out that Steve mentioned in his report was that the retention is provided in the Victoria Pond to the south with the original subdivision development. And then looking ahead in terms of our planning setbacks, if Cedar Road eventually gets expanded, we've got adequate setback there to accommodate that. Then you can see here with our photos, this is to the north of us. You see the number of mature trees and evergreen in the top two pictures, and then you get a glimpse at the terraces that I'm talking about right now. Doesn't look all that excited to turn it more like the cover. And then you see the retaining wall on the west side of the parcel near Cedar Road. Okay. And then here we're just looking north, relatively not too much happening along Cedar Road again. I know the value of very good landscaping, and you won't be disappointed when we do move forward with a landscaping plan. And then to our east, you can see our neighbors at Victoria Crossing. We think that the plan features the layout to maximize the inherent features that I was just talking about. The streetscape will be improved with the landscaping throughout the site, and we've got a paver treatment of the stamped concrete that will add a little touch to the cul-de-sac at the north end of the property, and so we exceed the spacing requirements by the ordinance, and then we will have pedestrian circulation by way of sidewalk along the public drive. Actually, Kimberly mentioned it in private. It's built to public specifications, so we'd like to stay with that. And then while we do have some work ahead of us in terms of refining plans, we do have 4 and 3 unit buildings that we see as appealing in that there are fewer, harder to sell middle units that don't have the windows that do hands. And unit sizes, Kimberly mentioned about 1,800 feet on average, ranging from just under 1,500 to just under 2,200 square feet. And we know and will provide, when we move forward, an attractive product from every direction. So again, here's the hopefully the ideas as to the after, and you can see a little bit better the before that you've got, I think 15 feet and 13 feet respectively, that the terraces are right now overgrown, and we'll have it cleaned up and quite attractive. How will the plan appeal, we think, to the city and our neighbors? We think it will enhance rather than detract from values. At Victoria Crossing, our units will be about 26% larger. We'll have available basements and 2-car garages, whereas Victoria Crossing has got 1 and 2 cars. And then versus a C2 zoning will be much less intensive in terms of that use. Our neighbors don't have to worry about 24-hour shopping, the glare of parking lot lights, or staring at a concrete block wall to a shopping center, and less traffic and pavement with our residential use. And as Kimberly pointed out, not being able to access onto Cedar again further inhibits the development. And so C2, I'm going to go over that in a little bit as well. In terms of less density, you can see that on our existing plan, when we look at the east property line, we've got 12 units versus Victoria Crossing's got 17 over that same approximate footage. And then our average unit size in terms of lot area per square foot is well above the annexation agreement and the ordinance. And as Kimberly pointed out, our density is well below that of our neighbor at Victoria Crossing. Unit 5 at 8.9 units and Unit 3 at 12.2. We envision a townhome rather than a condominium form of ownership, as well as exterior covenants. We're excited as to the amenities that are conducive to residential development and future homeowners can enjoy. That being the schools, churches, and the fire protection district just up the street, as well as the very scenic Victoria Lake Park and Victoria Pond just to the south of us, as well as Messenger Woods Nature Preserve. And here visually you can see, again, Victoria Pond just to south. First time I saw Victoria Lake Park, I fell in love with it. And I see how pretty it is with the picture to the bottom left. And then we got another picture of the very attractive and Messenger Woods Nature Preserve. So in terms of where is the market, we feel that through our research, supply is down and prices are up, and our product will address a real and current need. There's only one active townhome community within the city, and we do know that it's selling quite well and is expected to be sold out by our opening. And as Kimberly shared with me, there are no other townhome communities presently in Lockport planning, and we believe there's a real need for properly priced housing to meet the growth that we've seen up and down 355 and the rebirth of the Lockport Square commercial offerings. As we can see with this next graph, that the month supply of townhomes has fallen dramatically, and prices have trended up nicely, both indicative of a need for this type of development. Why we believe the change to R2 zoning is appropriate? For the following reasons. The master plan update shows residential all to the west, except in Morris Park. And again, as I mentioned, kind of a hole in the donut, with us being surrounded by residential uses. And then you can see we're at just on the opposite side at Cedar Road, where that number 22 is, might be a little hard to see. But you see all the yellow and the light green there is all residential in that plan. And visually what I did here was, you can see that same yellow of residential surrounding our terraces site. Okay. And then comprehensive plan. Similarly, you can see that a lot of yellow and green representing the residential, and the red that right now is the C2, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Okay. In terms of the C2 designation, its title is Community Commercial District, and it's serving a broad range of general shopping and grouping of compatible business uses and business prosperity. This is just a isolated site. There's not a corridor which retailers do want. And then as well, conflicts with the nearby roadway requirement that it be at or along major arterials and collector streets. While Cedar is Victoria Crossing, you're not going to get the traffic counts that commercial folks are attracted to. And then as Kimberly brought up, that the C2 zoning was made in conjunction with the prior request, and I think Kimberly and Pam agreed, it has been represented in the staff report, that the change in zoning makes sense. As well, market and site observations. This site has been vacant for 18 plus years. No commercial use has happened in that time period. Given its size and location, it cannot accommodate the intentions of the C2 zoning. And as well, we have another property under contract at the northwest corner of 167th and Cedar that we believe can serve this trade area when traffic counts and additional households come up. But coming back to our terrace parcel, we cannot see this as a commercial site. Okay. Again, benefits, it's compatible to what's around us. We can put this property on the tax rolls, which it really hasn't done much for the city over the last 18 years, and as well enhance rather than detract from the values of our neighbors. And this was pointed out by Steve in his memo, that there is adequate capacity to serve the community, and again, that the storm, or the retention, the storm pipe is there, as well as the capacity to serve the community already in place. In sum, why do I feel that we've got a good thing here, and hope the city feels the same way? The hole in the donut, we're surrounded, we're compatible with existing adjacent uses, and we've got features within our plan and our common offerings that we think should appeal to our neighbors in the city. We're less dense than Victoria Crossing and under the ordinance requirements. We've got good locational attributes that are conducive to residential, as I pointed out in some of the pictures. The market is in our favor is in terms of supply and demand, as well as rising prices a little bit, and the conflicts of the C2 ordinance to our parcel in terms of purpose and need for roadways, and that, again, the zoning change makes sense in the opinion of staff, and that there hasn't been market activity, and that we do have another site that we're also under contract at, again, in the northwest corner, that we think can serve the needs of the community and the previously mentioned benefits to the city. So with that said, I'm done.
Thank you, sir. We'll open this up to the public for any comments. Anyone here wish to speak about this development? If so, please come forward. Hearing none. Yes, what do you got?
Nice presentation, John. Been very thorough. Good luck. I was also impressed with your research, John, to take care of a lot of questions that we all had. You wonder why that parcel's been sitting there for 18 years untouched with all the assets that it has. It's surprising to me. I lived in Victoria Crossing for 10 years, and I look at the eyesore every day. So it's nice that you're putting this also on our tax rolls as well. So I applaud this. Support it fully.
Oh, I like what I see in here. And with Victoria Crossing, this was initially set aside for community commercial with the assumption a strip mall would go in there, convenience store, barber shop, dry cleaners, liquor store, whatever. That's never happened. We have somewhat of a shopping desert over there, but it hasn't seemed to be a problem. And I tend to agree that what you're proposing right here, and again, we wouldn't be talking about this if the market didn't support what you have in mind, which obviously it does. So I really concur with what you have in mind, and I support it.
Thank you.
I do have one question, if I may.
Sure. Come on up.
Neil Canelli, I'm on Newcastle. I got a question about the elevation. How is this going to change the elevation of the land adjacent from your neighbor? So I just want to know, what's that going to change as far as, where's the water flowing? I know we're up a little higher than it is right now, than your land is. But what's the plan for how the elevation of the homes are going to be?
Sure. Yeah, we haven't really progressed that far in terms of engineering work that required at this time with concept, but we do know, as we pointed out, that the storm pipe is in place, and we don't envision having any need to bring in soil for you to be worried about flooding coming your way. I don't see that at all. Well, we've still got some work to do. I don't envision at all having to bring material in to develop the property.
One question I have, what is your right of way in the center of Cedar Road, but what is your right of way in the center of Cedar? Your setback is 190-some feet. What is your right of way?
Right now, I think it's 40, and then we can accommodate the expansion. So you could go, I think the annexation agreement goes down 30 feet and will be 30 or more if Cedar is expanded all the way.
So you're still looking at 40-foot rear yard setback there?
Well, it depends on how much Will County Department of Transportation takes, but it will meet or exceed 30 feet, I think, per our preliminary numbers.
And then also in the staff report, they mentioned a private road, you mentioned a public.
Public, yes. It's built to public specifications, so we like it to be public.
Okay. Someone comments on that? Anyone else?
See, John, I just wanted to ask you, the staff had mentioned in there, the site plan was illustrating that the project would be developed as a single lot. And how will the owners will they have ownership of the building?
Correct, it's a little bit of a, and Kimberly, I think, asked the question, I followed up in my reply, that it will be townhome ownership, so everyone will have their individual lots with common area around it, so if I may have interrupted, but I think I answered your question.
Town areas would be handled by an association?
Yes, sir, as well as restricted covenants.
Any other comments? It's your pleasure, gentlemen.
Motion to approve as presented to go forward with preliminary plan. The rezoning happens in the next step, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we need to work on the annexation agreement as well.
A second.
So we have a motion, second, any comments, questions? Roll call vote, please.
All right, we have Shepherd,
Yes.
Likens,
Yes.
Portillo,
Yes.
Maloney,
Yes.
Finn,
Yes.
Oxley,
Yes.
and Balota.
Yes.
Motion passed.
This will go to.
Thank you all, have a nice evening.
Pardon me?
I said, thank you all, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Next, under old business, we have a plat of consolidation, re-subdivision and right-of-way dedication for 151st Street.
Yes, thank you. As you recall, back in August, the city did approve annexation and rezoning for the property we know as GG Temple, which is located at both 160 over 559 and 16105 West 151st Street. As part of this review process, they had amended their annexation agreement to allow for the proposed development to be completed in phases. Under phase one of the requirements was that the property be consolidated into a single lot of development, and that was supposed to take place prior to June of 2018. In addition to that, if you recall, the commission had expressed some concerns when reviewing the final development plan that if a sidewalk were to be installed along 151st Street at some point in the future, that the proximity of the proposed detention area may create some conflicts. So the applicant did agree to dedicate additional right-of-way, 7 foot, to be able to accommodate the sidewalk in a safe manner adjacent to the pond. Because both documents were required to separately have been combined into one, that's why you're seeing it before you this evening. So it's basically an obligation of the annexation agreement and a fulfillment of the condition of approval that you placed on the final development plan. So with that being said, the property will be consolidated into one lot, which would total 4.275 acres. And as I said, it will include the right-of-way dedication. So with that, should the commission find the plat of consolidation and right-of-way dedication acceptable, we would suggest a motion to remove the plat as presented.
It's your pleasure.
So moved.
Second by Blount, second by Portillo. Roll call vote, please.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Likens,
Yes.
Portillo,
Yes.
Maloney,
Yes.
Finn,
Yes.
Oxley,
Yes.
and Balota.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Any citizens be heard? Anyone want to talk to us?
Yes.
Chairman's report, we have not much. Commissioner's report. Go.
I was present at the city council meeting last week on Wednesday, and the mayor from the counter podium asked me to convey to the board his high regards in terms of the work that the planning commission does. He was quite complimentary of everything that we sent to the city council of late, so I need to pass that on to the panel.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, why do we have two cameras today? We have a regular camera, and is this a separate?
It's not staff initiated.
Pardon me?
I think it's just a resident.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was cable TV or why. That's all.
Hi, Grant.
Hi, Grant. How are you?
Just making sure you don't make any mistakes.
Yep. Good. We're on track. We're on track. We've got something to keep us in line.
She does.
Also, like a staff report.
Read
So,
that first. Read that first. Remember
right here, staff report.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so next month's meeting, we only will have one item, and that item will be Sagebrook Phase 3. If you recall, that was approved as one unit. They're interested in starting that unit, however, they want to divide it into a Phase 3 and a Phase 4. So they need to resubmit the plan of subdivision only, not the development plan, because that's already been approved. So that's the only item on the agenda for next month. I know that Mr. Oxley will not be in attendance, and Mr. Shepherd will not be in attendance. So if anyone else, but two more of you are not in attendance, if you could please make sure you let me know as soon as possible so that I can make sure that I can advise the applicant accordingly.
You guys know the rules. Inform.
I will be here.
Oh, okay.
Unlike you, I will
I will
be
be
here.
here. This was planned before I was in London. Anyone else have anything to say? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In favor?
Aye.